Okay boys, I'm getting comfy. I've got my hot chockey. And I got my church warden. So, let's get the cons out of the way first, so we can talk about the good things. Okay, first of all, the stem is really long. So that means when you smoke in a church warden, there's really nothing else you can be doing. You have to hold it in your hand all the time, and you can't clench the thing. Well, you can, but it's not super comfortable. So, if you're smoking a church warden, that means you sat down for a long time with the pipe in your hand. Now, for me, that's not a huge deal because when I'm smoking, I don't really like to be doing anything else, anything other than reading a book, watching a YouTube video, or listening to music. So that's not a huge thing for me. I know some people like to work when they're smoking, walk around while they're smoking, which would be impractical with this thing hanging out your mouth. But if you like to do other things while you're smoking your pipe, it's a drawback. If not, maybe not so much. The next thing is swampy mortis. I hope I'm saying that right, mortis. So the mortis is this part of the pipe. This little length of the briar here, which connects from the bowl to the stem. Now, water is a natural byproduct of the combustion process, meaning when you burn your tobacco, it's going to produce a certain amount of water. Now, with a straight pipe, and particularly with a short stemmed pipe, that moisture can escape more easily. In a bent pipe, and particularly in a longer stemmed pipe, such as a church warden, the moisture is going to get trapped in the mortis. Now, the reason that is a problem is because, one, it creates a hotter smoke because the water is boiled in the mortis, basically. It turns to steam, which can burn your tongue, which is not comfortable. Also, the water, even if you can manage to keep it manageably cool, dilutes the flavor of the smoke, kind of ruining the experience. So that can be a problem with the church warden. Now, fixes for that: dry out your tobacco. Okay, that's a topic for another video, but that's something that you can do. You can get a straight stemmed church warden. They don't have to be bent, but again, the length of the stem is kind of prohibitive towards the moisture escaping. So moisture in the mortis can be a thing. Which kind of leads me on to my next thing. Harder to clean, okay? Again, because of the longer stem, you will need specialized church warden pipe cleaners, which is not a big deal. But again, because they typically bent pipes are just hard to get a pipe cleaner through anyway, whether they're a church warden or not. So again, because of that swampy mortis, I would recommend personally breaking down the pipe every time, taking the stem off, brushing out the mortis with a folded pipe cleaner, running a pipe cleaner through the stem, make sure there's no moisture in there. Okay, so it requires a little bit of extra work after every smoke, which, I mean, personally for me is not huge, but it's a little extra to consider. But that's something that you're going to get with most bent pipes anyway. Now, another thing to consider about the church wardens is that unfortunately there's a lot of crap on the market. That is really true of pipes in general, but particularly for the church warden, because of its popularity due to the Lord of the Rings, there are a lot of poorly made church wardens on the market, typically from China. Make sure if you are going to buy a church warden that you buy a briar pipe from a reputable maker, and we'll get to that later. Okay, so now all that's out of the way, let me tell you why I like these things. I think the primary thing is aesthetics, right? Let's be honest. Okay, a lot of us get into pipe smoking because of Lord of the Rings. And in Lord of the Rings, the hobbits and Gandalf smoke a churchwarden. It looks cool, it feels old-timey, old-worldy, and it's just a luxurious smoke, okay? It's comfortable and it feels cool. It feels cool to hold in the hand, that length away from the mouth. There's just something, it's just peak aesthetic, okay? Makes you feel like you're in a tavern in the 17th century or in the Shire, you know. Either one is cool for me. I like that. The next thing is the advantage of the longer stem means that the smoke has further to travel, okay, along the length of the pipe. This gives the smoke time to cool down, which is good for two things. First of all, that means you have less chance of burning your tongue from the heat of the smoke. Secondly, we tend to taste things a little better when they are cooler, which means better flavor. Some people think that the cool draw on the churchwarden is a bit of a meme. Personally, I found that it's legit. I think just because of the length of the pipe, you're gonna have less draw on it, and that means that you're naturally slowed down, which means that you're not going to stoke up a furnace in the bowl. The smoke is going to stay nice and cool, and it's going to cool down along the length of the pipe, and by the time it reaches your tongue, it's going to be nice and cool. It's going to taste full and flavoursome and delicious. So, in the final analysis, do I recommend getting a churchwarden? Now, I'm well aware that I did give more negatives as opposed to positives. However, my answer is yes, I would get a churchwarden for the cool, delicious smoke and just the cool, unparalleled aesthetics of the pipe. So, if I managed to convince you and you want to go ahead and get a churchwarden, here's a few things to keep in mind, okay? When you're looking for a churchwarden, make sure that you buy a briar pipe made by a reputable pipe maker. Now, this one is made by BPK, which is a Czech pipe maker, and they've got a long history dating back to like the mid-19th century, I think. Peterson make good churchwardens. Savinelli make good churchwardens. As long as it's a well-known name making the pipe, that's fine. This was only 24 quid. The Petersons and the Savinellis, they'll be towards the, higher end of the price range. The only exception to the briar rule would be Missouri Meerschaum, who make corncob pipes, and they have a series based on the popularity of the Lord of the Rings films called the Cobbits, because they're corncob pipes. And so they are corncob churchwardens. Now, with a corncob pipe, you can always be assured of a good smoke, so they're also good and also cheap, around about the 20 quid range. So they would be the ones to look at. So the reason I decided to make the video is because the churchwarden is a little bit of a divisive issue in the pipe world. A lot of people don't like it, they think it's too impractical, they think it's not worth the extra effort. I say, for the coolness and the flavour of the smoke, and just the cool Middle-earth aesthetic, it's worth it. So I hope I convinced you. So if you get one, enjoy your smoke, and God bless.